Angie, can I make money from my podcast? If I only have a small amount of listeners, like 50 to 100 people, that is the question that we're going to be answering on today's episode of Podcasts That Pay. So stay tuned. What's up? I'm Angie, and you are listening to Podcast That Pays, the podcast for online business owners who want to grow their business and sell their offers using podcasting. If you like no fluff, tell it like it is advice from a marketing-loving podcast agency owner, you are in the right place. So glad you're here. Let's dive in. What's up? Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Angie, and let's dive into this juicy question because I really love this one. So, can I make money even if I only have 50 people, even if I only have 20 people? What is the amount of people that I actually need to make the money from my podcast? I know there's a lot of wisdom or there's a lot of thought out there about getting a lot of followers or having a big audience, and that's the key to making money. And I am kind of here to debunk that. I'm kind of here to let you know that, in short, the answer to that question, yes, you can make the money. You can convert your leads into clients. You should be doing that. And then we're going to dive in this episode and just talk about a couple of things that will help you to get on your path to that. Okay? So before we do any of that, you really are going to have to take the position that you can make the money. You really are going to have to get behind the fact that this can be a money generating outlet for you, that this is something that will bring clients to you. If you can't get behind that, then nothing else is going to matter. So first, you just kind of got to get behind the idea that this is going to happen for you and this is what you're doing. Secondly, before we get too far into the what you should do to make the money, consistency has to be there before we're talking about any of this stuff. So you have to be in some kind of rhythm, whether that's bi-weekly, weekly, whatever you're doing on your podcast. You have to consistently show up for it. If you're not consistently showing up, I also don't think that this is going to be, I'm not saying that you can't, but you're going to be less likely to be able to turn this into a lead generation thing for you. So be consistent, believe that this is and want this to be the platform in which you convert your listeners into clients, and then make sure that you're being consistent. Okay? Those things come first. And then let's talk about some things that you want to make sure that you're doing. If you've launched your podcast, these are things that you need to go and check and make sure that you're doing. If you haven't launched your podcast, here is how to set your podcast up so that you can make the dollars from your podcast. So you might have heard it before where I've talked about the fact that in my very first podcast that I launched, I made $13,000 in my first season of my podcast. And I talk about this a lot because it's really significant, because when I launched that podcast, I didn't have a lot of information. I didn't have a lot of strategy. I had no idea what I was doing. The thing that I had going for me was that I was super consistent and I talked about what I was selling. Like, those were the two things that I had going for me. And that was when I really began to see the power of podcasting. That was when I started to have people coming into my DMs who were like, I just binged your entire podcast and it helped me to make XYZ decision in my life that I've been struggling with. And like, this quite literally changed my life. DMs like that, DMs where people would, because in every episode I invited people to come to my Instagram and share with me in the DMs. And I had so many people who were impacted by the words that I was saying. And it's when I really realized how powerful and impactful podcasting is. It is such a powerful tool. And your warmest leads are going to come from your podcast. Why is that? It's because podcasts, the way that we search for them and search for something to listen to, It's not like we're scrolling on TikTok. It's not like scrolling social media where we're competing for attention and you have to catch somebody in a second and you might happen to see me or you might not. Like, it's so much more intentional. When people open the podcast app, they're looking for an answer or they're looking for more information on a certain thing. And so by default, by the way that people search for you, they're already warm. You already know that that person who searched out your thing, your podcast that pays, they searched that out because they're interested in podcasting. They're interested in having a podcast that pays. They didn't happen on that by chance. I already know that if you're listening to this podcast, you have some connection to podcast. You want one, you have one, you're trying to grow one, you're trying to learn how to make more money with one, you're trying to learn how to market your business better with one. I know that about you. Never met you, don't have any data, but by the fact that the very fact that you are listening to this tells me that. And the same is true with the people who listen to your podcast. The very same thing is true. So by nature, they're the warmest leads that you're going to have. And I love it because you have an advantage to sell on your podcast. And I feel like a lot of people don't take advantage of it because they don't think that this is the platform for it, when it's absolutely the platform for it. I just told you it was. Your people are super warm. They want what you have, and we know it. We don't have to warm them up. We don't have to push a bunch of buttons and say, okay, are you having this problem? We know they've self-identified. They raised their hand because they are here and they are listening. Now, where you come in this is your positioning. So you have to make sure. So yes, to answer, yes, you can have success with selling with a small audience. If you can have success selling with a small audience, big if, you do these things. Number one, you get your positioning right. You get your positioning right. You nail your name. You name your episodes right. You position yourself right where those people who I just told you are coming to look for their solution can find you. So it's reverse engineering. If I have XYZ problem that I solve, what am I going to be looking for? What do I need? What am I going to be looking for? And then how do you position yourself as the thing that pops up, the solution for what these people are looking for? You have to be able to do this. It is super important if you want to sell with a small audience. Let me give you an example. So I'll give you a positioning example that really, really bit me in the ass a long time ago. I did my first webinar and I marketed my first webinar as Podcast That Pays. And I will tell you, the name is flawed. Okay. The name is flawed. I'm too deep now. It is what it is. I can change it if I wanted to, but I'm not. But if I could go back, I would probably pick a better name than Podcast That Pays. Here is why. When I started promoting this webinar, I called the webinar Podcast That Pays. I think this was even before this podcast was launched. And I thought, it's clever. It's for people who want to make money from their podcasts, from their business. They want to be able to sell. So I was putting these ads out about making money from your podcast. Come to this webinar. I'm going to teach you how. And I got like 700 signups. 700. It was huge. The problem was, I would say 90% of these people were not people with businesses. They were just people who wanted to start podcasts that paid. It was the wrong freaking people. I had the wrong people. I had people who were looking to just build podcasts as their main thing and get paid from it. So, of course, my webinar was a bust. Of course, I didn't sell anything. Of course, I wasted money on ads. Of course, I got a bunch of people into my world that didn't really match with what I'm selling. It was because I was positioned wrong. It was because my messaging was wrong. And yeah, I had a lot of people, but I didn't have any of the people that were the people who I needed them to be in order to want to buy my thing. So this is why I'm saying it's really important to be positioned in the place and as clearly as freaking possible where those people can find you. So that's number one. Look at how you're positioned. Ask questions. Ask other people if it's blatantly obvious what it is that you're talking about in your podcast. It needs to be so obvious, especially if you're small. Like, especially if you are small. Stop trying to be a big brand in the podcasting when you are so small and just starting out. You can always grow and evolve and change the name, but start very simple with a very, very clear thing. That's number one. Number two, your content needs to reflect the thing that you are selling. 100,000%. Not sometimes, not every other episode, not every once a month you do a series. Every single episode should all work together to now take this person who is already a warm lead, and you're busting objections, shifting beliefs, breaking down myths. You're doing all of that in all of your content. And it should all be around whatever that thing is that you are trying to sell. So it's about reverse engineering that. So who are these people that you're selling to? What are their biggest pain points? What are their biggest desires? What do they want? What are they thinking that's not true? What myths do they believe? That's the content that you need to be creating. All your content needs to point to, this is warming this person up for this one thing. That's if you have a small audience and you want to make money from your podcast selling your offers. Okay. I will say that caveat after everything. Because if you don't, you can do whatever you want. You can talk to whoever you want. You can have interviews, knock yourself out. I'm always give you straightest line from point A to point B. And this is it. The next thing is that you have to talk about what it is that you're selling. You have to be able to talk about it. And you have to talk about it also in every single episode. Every single episode. It should be crystal clear to me. It should be crystal clear. Now, over in my school community, I walk you through how to do this step by step. You see what I just did right there? That was just an example. That was an example of how you drop and seed a sale inside your content. I just told you, you know what? Here's what you do. And over in my school community, I teach you how to do this. So now you know I have a school community. So you know that I help people do exactly this thing. So I'm giving you a peek behind the curtain without saying, you know what? Come buy a membership into school. Come purchase this. Some people are scared to say stuff like that. I'm not scared to say that. I think you should say that too. I'm all for saying straight up, I launched a community on school. I have roadmaps and trainings and 7-day accelerator. It's going to be amazing. Come buy it. 7-day free trial, $11 a month. After that, come on. Okay. You can also talk about your shit just like that. There's your permission. But you have to be seeding yourself. So when you're talking and you're giving examples and you're saying, hey, look, maybe you don't think you can make money in a podcast launch, but when I worked with my client, we made $25,000 in her podcast launch. True story, by the way. And here's how we did it. I took her through my method that I use in my school community. And she also worked with me one-on-one. And she did this, and this. And we were able to get her to $25,000 in her launch, in the first week of her launch. There you go. They're seeding the sell. I'm giving you an example to show you that it's possible for you, but I'm also talking about my tools and you're seeing how I work with people. That's giving you a behind the scenes. You have to do this in every single episode. If you don't naturally do this, you should be writing down, because in every episode you should be shifting beliefs. You should be talking about the belief, the thing, like this episode. Can my podcast make money? Okay, yeah. You can make money. Here's the caveats. Here's maybe why you believe this. I didn't really dig into that, but whatever. Here's why you believe this. Here's why you think this is true. I'm going to connect with you on this point. And then let me tell you a story to show you that it's not true. Story one, I told you, I did it. First episode of any podcast, first season of any podcast I ever did, I made money. And then look, I just told you my client that we made money. But I also invited you to my school at the same time by saying that, right? So give examples. So write down for every point, for every time in every episode, you're like, you know what, I'm going to give them this example. And so give them that example, tie it back to your work. So it's great to use your clients as examples, FYI, because it's a 2-for-1. So talk to your clients, and that covers, talk about your clients. Talk about how you've used your system in your clients. how you talk about how you've used your system to get your clients the results that the people who are listening want. That's what you need to do. So, number 1, positioning. Number 2, your episodes need to all talk about your offer. And number 3, you need to be selling in every episode. You need to be selling in every episode. You need to talk about what you do, shift beliefs, and you need to seed the sell, and you need to have a straight up commercial that is a call to action of, here, go do this. Okay. And then number 4, I guess would be if I had to add a number 4, it would be to track data to see what's going on and to set yourself up in a way where you can see who's taking action on your podcast so that you can kind of see how things are working. Because if you can't see that, you're just guessing, and you need to actually be able to see so you could see if something's working or what you need to shift in order to get the result you want. If you're never seeing that, then you don't know what's really happening and you're flying in the dark. And you don't want to be doing that whenever you're trying to actually make money from your podcast. You want to really be seeing what's going on and being able to really affect it and change it and make changes that are going to really drive, your business and your results. So there you have it. This will work whether you have 1 listener, 2 listeners, 200 listeners. This will work. This will work if you do it right. And if you do it consistently, it will work. So I hope this was helpful to you. Come on over to my school community at podcastthatpays.com. Come hang out with me. It's brand new, just started it. Come play. And I will see you in the next episode. Hey, if you enjoyed the show, head over to podcastthatpays.com to get started on your way to creating a podcast that pays. And don't forget to follow this show and take a screenshot that you were listening and tag me on Instagram at Angie M. Jordan. I'd love to meet you and show you some love over there. Thank you so much for being here. I love you. Let's get this money.